All right, so on this week's show, we cover a recap of our weekend, playing a J-Dub show at Lunar Electric Festival, what we did in the lead-up week to the festival, and day of what we sort of did to ensure everything went smoothly. And then Andrew goes into...
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about my role as, I guess you could call it, the tour manager at the festival, some issues that came up at the festival, how we resolved them, a little bit of networking at the festival, even though we don't like the term networking, but essentially conversations at the festival with people, finally putting some faces to names, which was awesome. Also talking a little bit about management, when you're ready for a manager, and also how to approach management to bring them on board with your vision.
Along with a few more listener questions. We really covered a lot in this episode. So without further ado, let's get straight into it.
We're back again, backstage with us. So episode 3, Andrew and Jake here taking you through another episode. And today we're going to be talking about all things management and also the festival we just attended on the weekend because Jake was playing. So Jake, I'll throw it over to you. What did you get up to on the weekend?
Sick, man. So weekend that just went was Lunar Electric here on the Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia. It was a sick little festival, man. Like, when I say little, I shouldn't even say little because it was actually the world's biggest post-COVID festival.
Yeah, I think COVID safe festival biggest so far.
Yeah, pretty crazy, man. So, big ups to the whole team there. Like, they really nailed it. Like, the organisation, like usually you see festivals like have a downfall somewhere, but these guys seem to be all around the board. They really killed it. So it's definitely someone for one of our next episodes we want to get on is one of the organisers, Sean, which I think did an incredible job of the festival. So was a dope day, man. So leading up to the week off, what did the week look like for us, Andy?
Well, it was quite a busy and stressful week. As you know, we had a few vocals come back for some tracks that you're working on, and also a collaboration that you're working with another artist that we've actually just signed to our management company, Riley. So
Riley
it was
Ella. Check him out.
Check him out. Yeah, check out Riley Ella on Instagram. It was a pretty hectic week. We were kind of trying to prioritize, hey, well, we've got, yourself performing at Lunar on Saturday. We've got all these vocals that have just come back on Monday. You've got to do mixing and mastering before the festival so you can play some of these unreleased tracks. And it was a bit chaotic. So it was interesting to see how, looking back now, how we prioritize the week.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it was one of them weeks because it was sick, because it was like everything we've been working on kind of came into fruition into the same week, which was kind of stressful at the same time, because it was just like, all right, shit, in my head, I'm like, I want to play all these unreleased originals. So I was trying to finish 3 original tracks this week, which are, in reality, we're at about 60%. So then it sort of took that reshuffle. Then we had a bit of a midweek meeting, and I was just getting a little bit overwhelmed because at the same time I was spending, since Monday, every single track I played was somehow unique to my set, whether it was a mashup, an edit, a recut of something. Like, every single thing had a purpose in my set and really reflected the J-Dub sound. So, yeah, I spent a lot of time that week really just prioritizing the edits and making sure that I had the best possible set. And then in the midst of all that, I decided I wanted to bring on CK the Walker to be a guest performer in my set as well, because we have a collab as well. And yeah, it was a pretty chaotic week trying to balance it all, to be honest. Like, we had in the end, I think it went from about 7 originals I wanted to play in my set that are all unreleased right now. I think I scaled it back to 4 that we actually played out, which was really cool. We got some cool reactions, and that was definitely the highlights for me, is actually seeing a crazy week all strung together and actually performed out, which was cool.
And to take a step back, for those that don't know about the festival that we're talking about, it was Lunar Electric. You can find it on Instagram, Facebook. It'll be all over social media, I'm sure. It was a EDM / bass and hip hop festival on the Gold Coast, Australia. Approximately 8,000 people attended the festival, and it was at the end of a park that was surrounded by water. So it was an awesome day, great weather, great location, really sick. And Jake played on the bass / hip hop stage, so it was really interesting for me, and I think Jake as well, planning the set and figuring out, okay, well, you're more of an EDM act, but how do you make your sound shine through when you're playing a bass hip hop stage. So it's interesting, and I guess that leads to a question like how do you make sure that you fit the vibe of the stage?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question, because I guess like the whole week, like if anyone's been following my production journey at JW Music on Instagram, plug, you'll see that I've been making all sorts of stuff during COVID. Like I was making hip hop, I was making bassy stuff, I was making pop punk. I was just doing kind of whatever I wanted and really discovering my sound. So to actually be booked on a bass and hip hop stage actually was kind of like a bit of a blessing in disguise, because it was just like, okay, you can only focus on these two things that you've been working on. And it was cool because like everything I played was like between like, apart from a couple of the last songs, which were heaters, but yeah, most of it was between like 126 and 130 BPM. So a lot of it was just grabbing hip hop acapellas and then putting hip hop acapellas over bass tracks with no vocals to try and make it relevant and keep it to both. But at the same time, it was also staying to my brand and staying true to what I do as well, which was, it was like this cool challenge that, because usually when you're just playing EDM, like a lot of people just play, whatever the current EDM is. But I was trying like, throwing back hip hop and then with the most current hip hop, but then like staying on brand with the stage and then, throwing in bass, but also staying true to EDM. It was a very interesting combination, the whole lot. But I'm extremely proud of the set, and I feel like, overall it went really well, and it was kind of like, I definitely am happy that I spent so much time that week actually preparing for it.
So how much time do you reckon you spent on your Lunar set? I know it was hours on hours, so it'd be interesting to see if you can kind of put it down to a figure.
Shit, man. I would say like maybe in preparation time, I'd say between 30 to 40 hours, which I don't usually do for like, say your average weekend set or something like that. But this to me was a showcase. This was like, okay, this is our first festival back. Let's show the world what J-Dub's been doing in isolation and in lockdown for the last 12 months. And I think that was the most exciting thing for me, was just like, all right, cool. I have so much unreleased music. How can we showcase it in a way that it then translates really well to the type of crowd that will be on that stage? So, that was, for me, that was the highlight. And, I don't know, 30, 40 hours, like it was probably way too long. Like usually, like if I was doing an away show, I'd spend like a good few hours like prepping and tweaking and stuff. But this set was completely original, like from the point of stripping back one of my original tracks, writing a full orchestral piece to start the intro of my set, going into an original, and then like there was just so many elements of, from an outsider perspective, probably overproduced, but to me it was super important to just nail this and really make a statement on this festival. So super proud of how it came out, and I definitely need to record that set this week and actually get it up online so the people that weren't there can actually check it out and hear a little bit of the direction and where we're going with J-Dub.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that from my perspective, watching you perform, the hours of preparation actually did shine through, and you could tell that there wasn't any lulls in your set. There was consistent, whether it was acapellas or there was new stuff coming every second. And it really kind of also ties back to what we've been reiterating, is that, becoming a DJ and producer and an artist, it's a long game. Like if you're a new DJ and new producer and then you end up on a big stage, like how are you going to make your set exciting? Like how are you going to be able to make mashups of your tracks with new current acapellas if you don't know how to produce music? Whereas you've been producing for ages, so I can say, oh hey, you should put in that little bit of mercy that's like, okay.
Yeah, and that was cool. That was actually cool, bouncing ideas off you in here as well, is because I'd come up with something and I'd be like, oh, this is cool, and then you'd be like, I don't know if it is, or it's like, no, that is cool, like go with that. So it was cool to have that, and like different input and stuff like that, and even being like, I need a song in E minor, like what's cool in E minor right now, and like really formulating a set like that, because that's something in set prep that I definitely pay attention to, is rolling through the keys and making sure everything works in key. Obviously mashups and everything like that are always going to be in key, but also just the flow of your set, like starting on a certain key signature and then rolling through keys, whether you're going through, and doing fifths or whatever it is, to actually make it flow. That's super key to me, so that's why that became really important, and that's what you can really see in a well-organized set. It flows from start to finish, and it feels like it makes sense.
So, 100%. And I think I'm more so starting to notice it now than I used to, but like going to a few festivals and watching DJ sets, you can actually notice that like the different key brings a whole different mood or atmosphere to that part of the set. So like even when we were watching Timmy Trumpet towards the end of Lunar on the weekend, you can see that how like his different key sets that change, like it brings, whether it's more of a darker, a chill atmosphere for a bit, and there's just a slow, long a cappella where he's just playing some trumpet over, or if it's a high energy build up, and it's all to do with like the key and then the energy that comes in after from the drop. And it's actually really interesting when you step back and think about it that. And I've never really done it before, but like you said, it really does depend on how you follow the key signature around and the energy that comes from those keys
and making it flow as well. And not only that, like I'd never want to be like a mashup DJ, like a party DJ where there's always something going on. But it's like, it was sort of like, and it was a very short set for me as well. It was a 30-minute set. So it was like, okay, how can we do this in a way that it's cool, but it's not cheesy? But then also it's like showcasing, like, there were so many different things to consider, which I probably just overthought because that's the kind of person I am, is overthinking a lot of things. But then when you tie it back to someone like Timmy, it's like everything he plays has a purpose. Like, you see his persona online and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't really understand it. But then like seeing it in real life, I was like, wow, the character he plays and the way he performs, every single song in that set has a purpose, and it's like, it's really, really interesting to watch it actually in real life and see how he guides a set and takes it from, these big moments, like you were saying, the big breakdowns, to then just these energetic, hectic, hard style stuff, but everything still flows. It's
100%.
really well done.
And what do you think? We were like before when we knew Lunar was happening, we were thinking weeks in advance about how do we make sure that J-Dub's set stands out. As, even though we are playing earlier in the day, like how do we make sure, regardless of how many people are there, that people are going to remember your set, the ones that were there, and how do we showcase it so that next time it's like, hey, this is how far above and beyond we went. For a set that wasn't the best set of the day, but like this is how far above and beyond we went.
Best set time.
Best set time of the day. But this is how far above and beyond we went from just rocking up and playing, putting your USBs in and just playing music. This is how far above and beyond we went. So how do you think you did that?
I think the biggest thing for me was just, I think it comes back to that passion thing again. Like I did see some sets and I'm like, okay, cool. What differentiates this from any other club set that you'd ever play? Like, so for me, it was like, okay, this is a festival. This is a performance. So every aspect of that was based on a performance. So it's like, the big orchestral moments, like, like having these different things that tie these different emotions. And then it's like, like I almost want my sets to be like this. It sounds whack, but like almost like motivational kind of set. Like it's like it takes you on this journey of like these feelings and these things that like kind of, And then like the other aspect of it was, like we weren't just standing up there pressing play. There's no way I stood still for more than 1 second total. And it's just like, full on energy. We're doing, I'm doing like mic work up there and then bringing out the guest. CK was a cool point of difference that not many other artists, like except for the higher tiers, like, Will and stuff like that. And, I think we're all out here now. I'm just trying to compete. Like, I think I'm there, and it's like just working with these kind of people is really inspiring as well to like sort of see where we're at and then just trying to scale up everything we're doing.
So what do you think was the best part of your set, or what did you think you nailed the most, and what do you think was the one thing, if anything, that you could work on moving forward to ensure that your next show is that much better?
There was actually a point in my set where my deck went into emergency loop. So
love to see it.
That wasn't my finest moment, and because I was so stoked when I got on, and Andy actually went up and plugged in the USB, started for me and stuff like that. Then I ran on stage kind of thing. And I forgot I had the other USB in my pocket. So there was a moment of panic there where I was like, shit, just because I didn't plug in the other USB. But I think I'm really happy with how I played. Like, I think the formula, and it was very overthought and I think the whole set prep was so strategical that on the day, I couldn't really screw it up, except for the the emergency loop, and there's not really
Something
much
out of
you
your
can do
control,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, but I was really happy with my energy. I was very happy with how I projected the performance. When we did our little recap, as we usually do after a weekend, of a little bit of savagery and feedback and stuff like that, you did mention the mic skills were dipping a little bit, and I'd have to agree with you. There was some points where, especially being a front of house system as well, it's kind of hard to hear how you're projecting. Yeah. Unlike in a club where you can hear it through a booth or something, like if you're not standing in the booth where you're going to get that ring back. But yeah, there was I could definitely improve on my mic work and how to actually project my voice out more. But yeah, other than that, like I think I'm pretty proud of that as a set. I feel like, it was just kind of, preparation, meets execution. Like I felt like it went like pretty well. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the performance is really well done, and I think those that weren't able to make the performance, when they hear the mix that hopefully will get uploaded in the next couple of days.
Among the other million
things you have to do. Hopefully when that gets uploaded and people listen, they will actually understand like what we mean when we're saying like the prep and the change of keys, and even like you said, it's almost like this motivational kind of performance to the point where if you haven't listened to it or you weren't there on the day yet, like there's Kanye literally talking in the intro of the set, like hyping it up, like, and I think that's something that I don't know if I've heard anyone ever do before, or if they have, it not in the way that you're doing it. And I think this is a really cool, path where it's like culture meets music, and it's more so than the culture that already exists in music. It's like taking it to the next level. It's like you walk away from the performance like feeling like happy to be alive and be like where you are right now, opposed to like there have been sets that I'll walk away and be like, damn, that was so cool, I really love that. But I think the vibe you go in is like you walk away and you're like, damn, like
that was sick. Now let's go. Like
let's do something.
Yeah, like I think like the most inspiring like sets I've ever seen is probably Skrillex, man. Like I remember Beach Life. I can't remember what year it was here on the Gold Coast, but I remember seeing a Skrillex show. And through it, like Skrillex would actually pull down and he'd be like, yo, like it feels so good to be here right now and stuff. And he's like, yo, this is for any of the kids, that were like bullied in high school and like stuff like that. And like brought it back to this real level. And like that was shit like that resonated for me. And I'm like, I'm not necessarily on that superstar level where I feel like I can be at that level just yet and be, doing that sort of bolder thing. So I'm sort of like taking inspiration from like, I guess my everyday kind of stuff, which is, watching a lot of like motivational YouTube things and, listening to like, like watching a lot of pop culture and like seeing like people like Kanye and people that I aspire to kind of be like, and then like just trying to get some of that and like even just pepper that kind of shit through my set, I think is like really cool. And it's like a really cool way to really just tie in who I am as a person into my set. And if anyone takes anything from it, it's like they get to know me a little bit more through that set, which is kind of cool.
And hopefully sometime soon we'll be able to get Kanye on stage to do it live. That would be pretty sick.
Kanye's the god, by the way, so if anyone's talking whack on Kanye, better not. Not here. Kanye is king, man. So backstage, man, because we were kicking backstage for a bit, like, so a few things from the set, because I'm going to take that back a little bit, because I just started with like 4 topics. So kick it back a little bit. From your point of view on the set, what do you think could have ran better, in your opinion?
Well, it was also my first experience as your manager. Well, actually at all, but more importantly, as your manager, being backstage and kind of running the TM, like tour manager kind of vibe, I guess. Yeah. So for me, everything was kind of new, and I was just kind of figuring it out as I went in terms of ensuring that your stuff was ready for your set. Yeah. So the first issue was when we got there, we weren't sure whether or not the stage manager / the people doing the visuals had all the the right logos and that sort of thing. So my first thought as soon as we got there was, hey, I need to find out who the stage manager is and I need to go double check that. So that's essentially what I did, and which was all sweet. Kind of figured it out. No one really knew exactly, but we got there in the end. So I got into the visual tent and the audio tent and talked to the guy that was doing the visuals. double check with him how you got Jake's logo and stuff. He's like, yeah, all good, sweet. And so it was sweet. So we went back and we chilled out preparing for the set, just ensuring that Jake was all good and everyone was feeling good. CK was ready and knew what he was doing for his part of the performance. And then when it came to the performance, I was side of stage, just kind of making sure that CK knew exactly when he was going to go on stage so that everything ran smoothly, so that Jake didn't have to freak out about worrying when the next guy, when CK is going to come on. And then also just taking a few videos for social media in between. And then I noticed that Jake's logo wasn't on the stage. So my immediate thought was like, far out, like, shit, this is frustrating as hell.
Yeah.
So,
and credit to you for your move on the next behalf.
Yeah. So I essentially legged it. So for those that weren't there, the visual/audio tent is, if you're facing the stage, is probably about 50 meters back from the stage, maybe 100 meters back from the stage, in where the crowd is. So I just ran off the stage and literally just jumped over the fence and just legged it towards the audio-visual stage, and talked to one of the lads back there and was like, oh, hey, like, I just noticed Jake's visual isn't on there. Like, can we get the logo up? And they kind of all looked a bit confused, to be honest. But yeah, I was chatting to the guy doing the visual. He wasn't exactly sure what was going on, because I think he was just assisting the main visual guy. So I was just like, in a nice way, just being like, hey, like, can we try to get this like ASAP if possible? Because, you know, he's only playing a 30-minute set, and it'd be cool if we can get his logo up there. Like, unfortunately for us, like, the guy that was helping out didn't really know, and like, I knew that he was just honestly didn't really know. And so, you know, I just said, it's all good. Like, if you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. It's all good. Like, we're all, we're not
going to be that big a deal.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, it's not. You know, it's not something that's worth arcing up about. So that was all good. Went back. Sorry,
I just kicked a camera for anyone that's watching.
No, that's all good.
Stream, that was my bad. Yeah, I think it's good.
No, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, you're still in.
No,
you're still in frame.
Still in frame. Damn, look at this. Yeah. So anyway, ended up just jumping back over the barrier thing, and just went back. And that was just before CK was about to go on, so quickly figured it out, and then helped CK up, and then ensured that CK also knew the right time to come off as well, because then Jake had 2 songs like kind of at the end where he could just re-hype it back up himself, jump on the mic and kind of show his stuff off. So I think that it was a big day of learning, even not necessarily the being backstage part, but the actual like tour managing kind of stage. The only thing that I think we could have potentially done to prevent these things was like a bit of a sound check beforehand, but I don't think it was the right move for us to kind of hound for a sound check. No. Just considering that, you know, it was the first big festival back. It was like we actually went three days before just to have a little circle around the festival to check and just see what it was like. We were hyped. We knew exactly what we were going to do. It was one of those things where it was like, it didn't happen. Damn, but it's not the biggest deal. Like, no, people still know about it, you know?
Like I'm super grateful for everyone who did come out. So shout out to the people who did come out to my set at Lunar Electric. Thank you so much. Like, that seriously means the world to me. Like, when I can look out and I can see faces that I know and people who are interacting with me on social media and stuff like that, like, and then tagging me in stories and stuff, like, that feeling is incredible. So shout out to those people. I really, really appreciate every single one of you for coming out. And yeah, I can't wait to get this set online just so I can show the people who couldn't make it, different states, countries, wherever, and everyone can have a listen. And there's a lot of unreleased stuff in there, so it's going to be really cool. And it's going to give a real kind of guided direction of where the J-Dub project sort of is and where it's heading for the next, 6 months and stuff like that. So
yeah, 100%. There's a lot of unreleased tracks. I'm really keen to start working and pushing them out with you. Yeah. And I guess to tie back into Lunar as well, like, obviously we're backstage for the whole day, and then there's all the after parties out in the local nightclubs. So how did you find the whole networking kind of situation backstage and meeting new people and maybe putting faces to names of people that you talk to online? Like, how did you find the whole experience?
Yeah, so this is something I really enjoy about our industry, is something that I guess anyone as an up-and-comer, it can sort of seem like, I don't know, it can be so easy to do this wrong. And I think when I was very young in the industry, I was like, I heard the word networking. I'm like, it's important to create relationships and rapport with these people. And I'd really try to go out of my way and kind of network with these people and create these relationships. Whereas now I feel like it's more of a natural thing. And I think that was the coolest thing about the weekend, is sort of seeing like, hey, we follow these people on Instagram, you know, we've probably already talked already. And then it wasn't so much about networking. It kind of, to me, it just felt like a bunch of people that have known each other for ages. I did know a lot of people there, but like a lot of it just felt very natural and very organic. It wasn't so much, I think networking is a bit of a dirty word.
Yeah, it is.
But
It has a negative connotation. Yeah. When I say networking, I don't necessarily mean it. I just don't know how to like say just talking to new people, I guess.
Networking is the word, but I guess it just gets destroyed by all these like entrepreneurs saying the word networking.
Network.
Yeah, you Gary Vee and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome, man. Like, it was cool to catch up with a few of the other guys that we've been following on social media. Shout out Young Guap for smashing 1 million Voddy Red Bulls with me. That was a good time.
Until the bar got shut down.
By, yeah, we won't go into that. That was pretty funny. But yeah, it was really good to actually connect with these people. And I did actually see one of the questions on my Instagram was, you know, like the importance of networking, and is this where the collabs start and stuff like that. And my answer to that I wouldn't say this is where the collabs start, but I'd say this is where a lot of the relationship rapport starts. It's just from you're going in with no expectation. You don't have any ulterior motive. You're literally just there to hang out and, you know, be nice to people and, you know, catch a vibe. And luckily, like most of the people, like I'd say 95% of the people there were just genuinely nice people, so it makes it so much easier, and everyone sort of stays in their lane and stuff like that. But as the night goes on, you kind of start to see a few movements as people start to get a bit lit. So I guess on the backside of this, what would you say, Andy, is how not to conduct yourself? And full disclosure, Andy and myself did stay very sober for this, and we were professionals, so yeah. This wasn't so much us, but this is more something we seen some up-and-coming kind of people or just people, that ended up backstage. How would you say how not to conduct yourself?
Well, I had actually two probably clear, interesting, I'm going to call it interesting moments.
Yep.
Because obviously it's my first time backstage at a I would call it a major festival, so I don't really know what the antics generally are. So I think the first thing was, you know, I was just kind of walking in between, having a conversation, and then going to check out one of the stages. And a guy comes up to me kind of running over. He's like, oh, hey, I don't think he even said, hey. He's like, oi, we need alcohol in this tent. We're not waiting in the line. Yeah. And it was just that. And I didn't even know, like, I didn't know if he was talking to me. It was kind of more like a yell from a distance. And then I kind of looked around and I was like, oh, and then I just kept walking. And then I had the exact same, we need alcohol, like that. We're not waiting in that line. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, sorry, dude. Like, I don't work here. Like, I don't know how I can like help you with that. Yeah. But the point being is that, like, even if I did work there,
that's not how you talk to people.
That's not. Yeah, it doesn't matter who you are. That's not how you talk to people.
Yeah.
Like, if I worked there and someone said that to me, like, I would not be that keen to go get them the alcohol that they wanted. Yeah. Like, all you had to do is, oh, hey mate, like, sorry, I think we're supposed to have, you know, this bottle of vodka, or we're supposed to have this thing here. Like, is there any chance we can do that, or is it possible, like, that we can, you know, get some from behind the bar? And then even if it was just me and I didn't work there, I'd probably be like, oh, okay, like, I'll see if I can help you out.
Yeah,
like,
just because you come in with genuine intentions and you're not being a dick about it. Yeah,
but then when you said that, I was like, no, like, why would I even want to help you now? Like,
and the funny point on that is I know the crowd that you're talking about, and we're not talking about the lowest tier of acts, and we're not talking about the highest tier of acts. It's like that, you know, that in between. And the worst thing about it is, and this is something that I think artists, DJs, whatever, need to be very careful of, is because it wasn't an artist itself. It was someone who was just
someone
in the
hanging
crew.
Around with them, yeah.
It was just one of the friends. So, you know, if you have friends that, you know, can't control their alcohol, or they're going to carry on like fucking idiots, it's probably not a great idea to have them people associated with you at something like, you know, backstage there, because, you know, now our impression of, you know, maybe this artist is, you know, based on the company he keeps of a bunch of people who are just, you know, acting entitled when, you know,
Yeah, and I guess the good thing for that was that he said that to me and not someone that actually mattered at the festival.
Yeah.
Like in the sense that, like what if he walked up to the festival owner and was like, "Hey, we need alcohol." Like, what do you think the response is going to be?
Yeah, like that could ruin his artist friends
chance at getting booked again.
Exactly, because it'd be like, nah, fuck you and your crew. Like it could be like a really savage.
Yeah, it was not
outcome
not
from that. Like that was that's definitely one of the ones. So. Yeah, be very careful of who you're keeping in your circle, especially in events like this, because it does matter. It really does matter. So,
and I guess the other number 2 of my 2 instances, was
someone under the influence of
someone have your fun, do whatever you want to do. It doesn't affect me, not an issue. Like I don't do it myself, but if you want to go do whatever you want to do, that's cool. But keep in mind that you're meeting a lot of new people, you're making a lot of first impressions.
Yeah.
And if you're not what you usually like, people aren't going to know what you usually like yet. So if you come across as, being completely off your face, talking to people and saying stuff that you would never usually say, that's their first impression. And they might just think that that's just you. And even if it isn't just you, it's like, it's just not a good way to carry yourself, anywhere, let alone at a place where there's lots of new people that you're meeting that are in your industry that are relevant.
Especially not only that, backstage, and especially for this particular person, because I think he had a few run-ins with a few different people who would have had similar experiences to us. They weren't an artist on the lineup, and it was just like they didn't come in with anyone, and it's almost like, A, how the fuck did you get in here? And 2, and B, it's like, okay, you are in here. This is a privilege to kind of be here, and a lot of people have earned their position here. You can't conduct yourself like a pork chop. Like you need to be, there needs to be like a level of respect, and there needs to be like a level of professionalism, because the artists here aren't conducting themselves like this. I didn't see any artists carrying on like idiots on the day, but it's more the company they were keeping. May have, but in this scenario and stuff like that, you could sort of see this person was just going person to person, and it's sort of like when he was under the influence, I think he got brushed a lot, and it's just kind of like, man, like you are doing some career damaging shit right now, so don't do that. Just shut up.
And people have good memories. It's hard to forget stuff. One bad memory of a person is going to outweigh 100 good memories, because you'll always remember that one time that they did something that was just stupid.
Exactly.
And it's hard to brush that off. People have good memories. So it's just have fun, but know your limits. If you're going to do stuff, if you're going to do illegal stuff,
or legal, even if you're drinking alcohol,
just know what's going to happen.
Know the consequences of what you're about to do. And if you're trying stuff for the first time, if you're trying alcohol or you're trying something else for the first time, that's not the place to do it. You should not be doing that sort of thing there. So I think that was a big thing that we really wanted to bring across into this episode, was just because a lot of, I guess, our audience are in the music industry, or they're up and comers trying to break through. So this is sort of the advice of hey, when you do get these opportunities, don't shit all over them. Don't screw it up. Do it. Conduct yourself as a professional.
And to that point as well, and you can't also use the excuse that, oh, hey, I was with this artist and they were doing it and they kind of wanted me to do it with them. It's like that's, you got to stand up for yourself. You don't have to drink, you don't have to do drugs, you don't have to do all this stuff to be a professional and to go far in the music industry. There are plenty of examples of people that legitimately don't drink or don't do any drugs and are massive in the industry. So it's a bit of a cop out to say, oh, it was networking. It's not really, because you can still stand perfectly sober next to someone that's drugged up and have a conversation as long as they can handle that. And you can still network with people and talk to people, but don't use that as an excuse to get fucked up. That's just ridiculous.
And the conversations you're going to have when you're under that influence, there's no value or there's no depth to them anyway. They're just they're very superficial conversations. They're not, there's no depth to it. And I like actually talking to people on a level of finding out, what they've been doing, what are they where are they going, what are the plans for this year, and you're not going to have one of them conversations, at a bar or at a cubicle, so it's, to me, it's if you're there, be professional. And I think that's the biggest point that we want to nail home there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's also, if people like that are coming in backstage and, they're with your crew, then it really is on the tour manager to kind of, regardless of whether it's your best friend or it's the artist's best friend, sit them down. You can be nice about it. It's like, hey, mate, like, you're not necessarily reflecting upon the whole group in a good way. Why don't you just chill out for a bit, like maybe go get some food and then come back when you're feeling a bit better.
Yeah.
Like that's a good way. You can do it in a nice way. And if that, by doing that, it's self-destructive and this person gets even worse, then like maybe you need to talk to the artist about, hey, maybe the artist needs to talk to their friend about this because it's going to reflect poorly and it's your career at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and I think because we're such savages, we would not let anyone come between what we're doing and the career stuff. So it's like, friendships aside and stuff like that, at the end of the day, we are professionals and we're here to work.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's fun and we celebrate after, but more than anything, respectful work and tie that all in.
Get the job done, do it properly.
Hell yeah.
Interesting.
So, on the back of that, we did have a couple of questions, I guess, came over the last week as well. And this ties back into your role. And we did dip on this a little bit before, talking about the day of and your role as a manager. So leading off the festival thing for a moment to go back into the management side of this, because we started to announce OSO MGMT last week with the signing of Riley Ella.
Yeah.
And obviously myself already on there and stuff like that, which you've been looking after my stuff for probably at least the last year, even if it hasn't been officially like you have been, which has been dope. So I noticed we had a couple of different inquiries sort of come into the DMs of the OSO MGMT and stuff like that. And I reckon you could elaborate on this a little bit more in actually talking about at what point do you need management? Because I think this is something that a lot of people see as, I remember me as a young artist, I was just like, as soon as I get signed to an agency, I'm like, yeah, that's it. Shit's going to start blowing up for me. When in reality, it's like, no, it just doesn't happen like that. It's really on the artist. And I think management's a whole different kettle of fish to agency as well. So I guess the point that I'm trying to come back to is at what level, and let me rephrase this. A, reaching out for management.
Yeah. And
B, at what level should you be getting management?
Okay, so I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with reaching out to a manager if you want them to manage you.
Yep.
But I think it's also knowing, like, which ties to number 2 is when are you ready for someone to manage you? So firstly, if you're reaching out to a manager, ensure that you have a Dropbox full of tracks that are unreleased and also links to your released tracks, and also have a clear vision in your head of where you want to take your artist project, because the point of a manager is to turn that vision into a reality.
Yep.
And by basically doing as much as they can so that you don't have to do those things, so that you can just focus on building your brand and your vision and keep pushing up to the next level. So I think right now a lot of people get confused between needing a booking agent and a manager. So if you're hitting a manager up and they're asking you, what do you want me to do? Like, why do you think you need a manager? Which is what often the question I pose back to when people ask if OSO can manage them. I say, well, what do you want? What are you hoping a manager...
What can we do for you?
Yeah, what do you hope a manager can do for you?
Yeah.
So that we're both on the same page, because what we're going to do might be different to what they think we're going to do. And that's the worst thing that can happen. So I always pose that question, and a lot of the time the response is, I just want to get more gigs. Yeah. And it's like, well... cool. That's good. Yes, you should always try to get more gigs.
Everyone should want more gigs, yes.
But also, bringing a manager on isn't necessarily the first step to getting more gigs, because a manager can only create hype and awareness with material. So if you're a local DJ that doesn't really release music, maybe you DJ a little bit and maybe you've got some music in the works or just some bootlegs, what do you expect a manager to do for you? They can't just make up, oh, hey, he's got a new track coming and it's going to be good. They can't really do anything. So you've got to ensure that the manager has something to do, because otherwise you're just giving them money of your gigs. So you're actually doing a disservice to yourself.
Yeah, why would you want to give away a percentage of your income for something where you can handle it yourself, to the point where, in my opinion, you don't need management until you feel like you've gone as far as you can possibly go by yourself, and it becomes uncontrollable, or, or all of a sudden you blew up out of nowhere, and then, you have all these inquiries. Then you need someone to liaise, manage, and stuff like that. But if you're on a local level, I don't know why you'd want to lose a percentage. But yeah.
And if it's more gigs that you're looking for, it's more so about approaching a booking agency and saying, oh, hey, I don't have much music out at the moment, but my sets are really good and I put on a good performance, because then a booking agent can work with that. They can, make show reels and then get you more gigs, and because they have the connections with the nightclubs for the most part, if you get the right booking agent.
So hold on that as well, what you just said there, that booking agent can make these reels and stuff. You'll find they don't. They don't actually do any of that. All that work is on you. So if you can't already put in the time into your artist project and develop a brand yourself, why do you think someone else is going to want to do that?
Exactly. That's fair.
It's just pure laziness. Right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You've got to really want it yourself.
Yeah. Unless you are just some kind of just amazing producer or amazing DJ, and I know everyone who starts, they're like me and naive, thinks they are amazing before they go out into the real world. And, that's the thing though, is you need to be good around the board. You can't be good at one thing. And that's that whole jack of all trades, master of none. But I actually learnt the other day, that's not the end of that quote. Did you know this?
No.
Okay, so the end of the quote, I might be screwing it up here, but...
Paraphrasing.
Yeah, paraphrasing. So it's a jack of all trades, better than a master... No, what is it? What's the expression again?
Jack of all trades, master at none?
Yeah, that's what it is. So jack of all trades, master at none is better than a master of one. So it's saying master of none is better...
Saying it's a jack, so people that are decent at everything, are better than someone that's really good at one thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, geez, I really snaked that worse than ever, but yeah, that was the worst explanation of that ever. But that's actually the full of that quote, and I actually didn't know that until last week. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought that was
interesting.
Pretty notable, because in reality, you do need to be good at everything. Around the board. You can't just be dialed in at one thing. Otherwise, there's some of the greatest producers. I've met some incredibly talented producers, and then they have no idea how to sell anything, or they don't know how to perform, or they don't know how to do this. I'd rather be pretty good at everything than just amazing at one thing. So, but obviously the goal is to be fucking incredible at everything.
At everything,
but,
yeah. We're working towards it.
But yeah, you should be broaden it.
To tie it all back, so I think, when are you ready for a manager? I think you're ready for a manager if you've got a clear vision in your head exactly where you want to take your project, all the way down to, hey, these are the kind of venues I want to play, or these are the kind of festivals I want to play. This is where I want to be located.
Yeah, sorry, I kicked the camera again.
No, good.
Yeah, this chair, man.
Yeah, so venues where you want to play. What kind of artistic kind of vision do you have? Do you have a theme with your project, or are you trying to be very open with your audience, or are you more of a shyer personality? Where do you want to go with your project? So have a clear vision of where you're going. Then have a stockpile of music, or have a stockpile of working in progress tracks of which reflect that vision. And then you start either looking out for yourself for a manager that either manages artists similar to the vision where you want to take your vision, or you look out for people that you think you trust, and then you think that have enough experience that will be able to jump on and help you do it yourselves and learn with you. Exactly. And I think that's the point. So I think if you're at that stage and you've got those things, then you can actually reach out and hit up a manager and say exactly that. Here's my vision. Here's some tracks. Where do you see? Do you think this vision makes sense? And if so, let's have a meeting and let's chat about it. Because also you've got to remember, you need to the manager is probably going to be your closest relationship as an artist. As you grow bigger and bigger, you're going to have a big team. But the manager is the person that you should be speaking to every day, the person that you confide in with all your problems, the person that will help you, whether it's in relation to the music stuff or personal stuff, because they're the ones that are there all the time and should have watched you throughout your whole journey. Yeah. So I think it's more so there's got to be some sort of connection just as a friendship, opposed to just, hey, we're just gonna hit this at a business angle.
Business relationship. I don't think at all on that level, and like it needs to have that personability of that as well.
Because there also has to be respect, because the manager needs to be able to tell the artist, hey, like, I know you spent 40 hours on that track, but it's not good.
Yeah.
And the artist has to have enough respect for the manager to be like, okay, like, I really am, because a lot of the time, like, artists are artists, they're invested. It's like a baby every time they produce a new thing, right? So it's like, it's hard to hear that thing sucks. Like,
yeah, because like I go into everything thinking like, yo, this is a hit. Yeah. Even though in reality it's probably not, but like it's good to be optimistic and stuff like that. And then it's like, okay, cool, but you can't just have someone going, nah, it's not, it's crap. It's like, and this is where we have some really honest conversations. It's like, okay, so which are the things that you don't like? And I think that question poses it's a really valuable question, because he's not going to sit here and he's not going to tell me, hey, I really like what you've done with this chord progression or something like that. Yeah. All he's focused on now is just the way you ask that question. He's focusing on the negative. So he's going to tell me straight away the things he doesn't like, and that's what I'm going to take away from that. I'm going to go, okay, cool. Now what did you like? And now I'll float my ego back up a little bit, like, restored. But yeah, I think that's the only way to growth, and that's something we do a lot, and I've definitely become a lot less attached to some of my projects, I'd say, over the last year, is because I think when I was starting, I always had that approach that, no, this is the one, I can't top this. Now I'm like, man, I'm learning more and more every day. Like, I don't feel like I've reached my peak, and I don't feel like I'm anywhere near close to it. So now I'm not as attached to these projects. So I think I can really take feedback a lot better now than, say, being a younger, inexperienced artist like I was. It was like, I'd take it so to heart, and I'd be like, nah, fuck this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. When really, you just got to look at it from an outer scope, and it's like, all right, can I take this feedback on? I haven't reached my peak yet. I know that. Like, there's so much more quality that can come from my work. So
yeah, and on that, it's like, whether it's to your artist manager, to a friend, like, when you send feedback and you're giving feedback for tracks, be honest with people. Yeah. Like, we had a conversation recently, because Jake gets sent tracks all the time from all people, asking for different types of feedback. And it's like, well, you can either say it's cool and float their ego, or you can be honest. Like, sometimes, yes, it's a banger, and it's like, wow, dude, this is honestly some of your coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, oh, hey, like, I don't think that makes sense with the stuff that you've released, and like, it just doesn't sound right. Like, I think that you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing the person that's asking for feedback a disservice if you give them BS feedback and just try to float their ego.
It's almost like sometimes I just want to ask, do you want a pat on the back or do you want feedback?
Yeah.
Because I feel like they're two very different things.
Yeah, definitely.
And like, I think the best feedback I've ever received is just being honest, and it's told me what they don't like about it, so I can go, okay. And then you can sit back and go, yeah, no, it's subjective, or no, like, they don't understand this, or something like that. Or you can just go, okay, well, let me just try this different sample here. Like, let's try a different fucking snare. Let's try a different something. Like,
yeah, because sometimes it's going to be subjective.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of music is subjective. So some people are not going to like it. But it also could be a situation where it's like, hey, the key goes off here. It's like, oh shit, like, that's just music theory. Like, that's just general, like, knowledge.
Like, I did that, like, this week. I had a tom in one of my productions that the tom was just out of key. I didn't notice it until I was mixing down. I was just, like, double checking everything. And I was like, oh shit, all right, cool. And it's like one of them things that I wish someone was more savage with me, and like was just like, oh, you fully missed that. Like, instead, But that's fine. Like, they're the sort of feedbacks you get, which is cool. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think to cap it all off, like, with regards to, when are you ready for a manager, it's have all those things in place, ensure that your relationship with the person that you want to manage you is good, and then the other thing is you need to ensure that, the manager, when they're coming on, it's, for the most part, it's a long game. You're not going to make millions of dollars straight off the back. So if you keep getting told no by management, you've also got to respect the fact that managers put in a lot of time behind the scenes. You might not see what they do all the time. So they need to see your vision, and they need to see a return in the future, because at the end of the day, everyone needs to make money. Otherwise, you're just not going to go anywhere. Like, if you're not making anything. So, if people are saying no, it might just be that, hey, like, honestly, they don't see the scalability right now.
And this almost ties back to, like, episode 1 when we're talking about even submitting a DJ mix to a club. It's like, if you half-ass it, so if you come at a management, like, you come at someone like Andrew who works his ass off, and you come to him with like, hey, yeah, I think it'd be like a cool idea if you guys managed this, and it's just like, this is the worst fucking pitch I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Like, you need to believe in yourself so much. And like you were saying before, the vision, like, it needs to be so clear in your head, because if you don't believe it and you don't already think this could be something fucking incredible, how do you expect anyone else to believe in, like, your vision as much as you? Because no one's going to believe in your vision as much as you are, but you'd want your manager to be on a pretty fucking high tier, close second to it,
close
you know?
second.
Like, so yeah, if you can't even, like, yeah, get it to there, then, you know, maybe work harder.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
try harder.
Because I mean, like, I know from my perspective, like, if I'm managing someone, like, I'm managing them. Like, I'm putting in shit behind the scenes. I am putting in work. Like, I'm not just gonna manage 20 artists and do like 10 minutes a day on every one. Like,
No.
like, I'm very selective with who I want to manage and who we want to bring on the OSO team, because it's like, hey, like, if you're not working, like, I'm working, so I'll be pissed if you're not working,
Yeah.
and vice versa. Because, like, if you don't give me shit to do, like, I'm just sitting here, like, just tapping the desk. Like, I need shit to do. So.
Yeah, I know. I can't imagine you sitting still for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You nearly started a rap career today when we had a 5-minute intermission in between a coffee and this. Yeah.
Yo,
So,
I'm gonna be hitting the circuit
yeah.
soon. You watch out.
No, see, this is cool though. So that's really, just brings it home, is like having that vision. And even like something really cool that I was talking to our friend Kai Grant about over the weekend as well, which was just even like Pinterest boards and stuff like that. He's created like an artistic vision for where he wants to take his whole project based on, you know, just finding cool shit that he likes on Pinterest. And he's someone who's really, you know, he's really on trend with a lot of stuff, so it makes sense. So when he does something, it's like, okay, this is cool, and he finds a way to fit it into his brand. So, you know, that ties back to the whole vision thing. And it's like, you know, even if you had, say, a Pinterest board with direction, you had your inspiration of another artist or people that you're trying to emulate within that space, and then plus with the music, and emphasize on, please be producing your own music. Like, you're not, like, I don't see the point in managing someone who's ghosted. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I know that's something we would never do at OSO, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I could harp on that. But yeah, vision. That's the main thing.
And a cool tip on that is, like, if you don't already, on Instagram, there's a little save feature. So if you see a cool post, you can literally just click save, and then it saves it into your, like, back end on your own Instagram account. So then you can see everything you've saved. So if you see an artist do something cool, it's like, okay, save it. So then you can quickly go back, or, I mean, you can screenshot it if you want, but it's easier if you save and you've got it all in the one place. So at least you have,
I like that, man.
a little area.
Hell yeah. Okay, so we did have a couple of listener questions. We might have already nailed them, though. I might get you to skim over them and see if there's any that we didn't actually cover.
Well, I guess you touched on how many hours you spent on Lunar, and you briefly touched on, you know, how many hours you'd spend it for, you know, I'll call it a regular set, but, like, you know, a performance set. How many hours do you think on average you spend, if, you know, per week, if you're preparing for a resident, or does it really fluctuate?
I think for a residency, it fluctuates. Like, you want to be on top of it, and at least, you know, and emphasize the fact, if all you do is resident DJing, you'd want to have some amazing sets, and you'd want to be spending a lot of time. I guess for me personally, I only spend a few hours a week just getting my stuff up to date for a residency and stuff like that, because as you'll know, if you're a DJ, there's not that much music that comes out per week that's actually playable, and someone's going to sit there in the comments and go, thousands of songs are released. Yeah, but how many of them can you play?
And on that note, on the Gold Coast, for those that don't live on the Gold Coast, it's very, very commercial.
Yeah.
Like, I play at a hip-hop club, and, like, the local hype, I can't play any of those songs because no one knows them on Spotify. Yeah. So, like, it is about as commercial as you can get. So there's not that many commercial. It's like, if it doesn't hit top 5 in Australia, you can't play it.
Yeah, so that one's a different kettle of fish. But I think for performance and stuff like that, man, I spend a few, like, it depends what the show is, where it is, and stuff like that. Like, sometimes you do get booked for commercial venues, and it's like, okay, because I could play commercial so much, I don't need to spend as much time preparing. But if it's like a gig like The Weekend, and it's a showcase of J-Dub, and it's what I want to resonate with the people, I'll spend as many hours as I need. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Oh, cheers for the chat today. I think that was good.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. So I think that was really good. And yeah, we'll wrap it up on that one. And we're actually got a couple of guests coming up soon. We won't announce them on this pod. But yeah, thank you guys so much for following us and listening to what we have to say on the podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
Really appreciate it.
And if you want to follow us at 17online on Instagram and also at OSO_MGMT on Instagram as well for our management side of things. And yeah, we're going to be uploading every week. So if you have any suggestions on people you want to see on the podcast or areas of the industry you want to hear more about, chuck it in the comments or just DM us directly and we'll respond.
Hell yeah. Till next time.
Stay humble.
Hey.